Well, I'm Alan Dale from Gale Force Winds. Such a pleasure to be here in Gander, Newfoundland. Central Minix 2025. I want to tell you there's excitement in this room. It's year over year over year. This trade show is growing. Thank you to our good friends at Calibre Mining for bringing the conversation alive here on day 2. And on that note, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Courtney Rowsell, and I'm the Social Compliance and Reporting Lead at Calibre Mining.
What's that mean, Courtney? That's a big title. What exactly do you do?
Yeah, it is a pretty big title, and to be honest, I kind of do exactly what it says. So social compliance, so I work a lot with our stakeholder and community engagement and relations and reporting. So I do a lot of our sustainability reporting, which happens very frequently, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annual basis. So reporting to different stakeholders internally and externally.
Talk to me about the importance of having that relationship with stakeholders. Why is that so vitally important in what you do?
Yeah, well, I think it's a critical piece of us as a company and our success. But building the relationship allows us to really create something that's mutually beneficial. So beneficial to us as a company to have good relationships with our stakeholders, but also beneficial to them in that we're able to build that relationship, support them, and work with them to further their goals and objectives. So whether it's through financial sponsorship, or just in kind or volunteering, that kind of thing. So building that relationship is critical. To some degree, you have to build relationships with your stakeholders for regulatory approvals and otherwise, but for us, it's much more than that. It's about really getting connected with and knowing our stakeholders and bringing benefit to them.
Well, you're right. There's one thing to have to do something, but then there's a whole other thing when the company has a desire to do it. And talk to me about the company's vision for that stakeholder involvement and why it's so ingrained in what you do.
Yeah, so our community engagement goes way back to before construction even started. So, early consultations with the communities go back to the early days of 2020 and even in 2019 when we started consultation with the communities talking about the construction that was coming and what the project was going to be after years and years of exploration. And before we started construction in 2022, that's when it started, and since then it's only built. So we have 6 local communities that are local to the project. So Buckins Junction, Millertown, Badger, Grand Falls, Windsor, and Bishop Falls. And so those are our key 6 communities, but there are a whole host of other stakeholders, both Miabogek and Halapu First Nations, and then a whole bunch of other organizations, the Outfitters Association, salmonoid organizations, so our stakeholder list is very long. Yeah. And we've been building those relationships for a long time, but we continue to build new ones all the time.
Of course, that would never end, right? It's constantly being in dialogue, constantly finding that mutual ground, as you so rightly point out. But it must be exciting to be in those conversations.
Oh, absolutely. And so I've had, I joined the organization in December 2023, just after the Calibre acquisition had been announced. So before it was finalized in February or later, in 2024. But when I joined, we were Marathon, then we transitioned to Calibre, and now, as you know, we're merging again and will be Equinox Gold. But my role has changed slightly in that time. So I guess growth, development, that kind of thing, as we transition as a company. And in the last 6 months or so, I've really taken on the role of working with some of our diversity stakeholder groups. Yeah. So super exciting. I get to work with WRDC, so the Women Resource Development Corporation, on their STEM for Girls program, which you'll see I'm sporting on my shirt right here. Yeah. And we'll have a whole group of girls coming today actually to participate in the science fair that's happening, and then to do a tour of the trade show floor to get an introduction to mining and what opportunities exist for them. And then I also work with ENLO, the Office to Advance Women Apprentices. So I really get to manage those relationships as a part of this role, and it's really exciting.
Are you seeing growth and excitement with young women and girls in this industry?
Oh, absolutely. So when I got to be on this podcast back at CIM back in St. John's in November, we had just brought our first group of students ever to site. So it was a group of girls through the STEM for Girls program and brought them up. It was our first ever tour of site, but but ages 7 or grades 7 to 12.
Right.
They're so interested in what they're going to do with their future and what opportunities exist for them. So really getting them exposed to what opportunities are out there.
Right.
They get so excited, and then that makes me so excited, and then everyone gets excited, and then that momentum builds and grows.
I mean, this is a huge opportunity for Newfoundland and Labrador, and I would argue that we need all hands on deck here,
Absolutely.
right? So getting this conversation and showing young women and girls what is the future here, what opportunities exist is vital.
Well, yeah, and I think that oftentimes we see the traditional careers that exist. Or look at traditional programs that you can study. If you're going to university, you could do business, you could do engineering, you could be a teacher, you could study science, geology, but I don't think we get a lot of exposure to what that means after you graduate. So you've studied what these subjects are, but what does that mean when you graduate? And the reality is it can mean so many things. When I did an undergrad in business, and never thought that I'd end up working in corporate social responsibility in the mining industry. So I think that it's one thing to show the types of careers, but when you can get girls and boys and children of any gender out talking to people who are working in the roles, it really allows them to broaden their horizons and say, you know what, that's something I never even thought was a job or something that I could ever do. So I think that's a critical piece of career development for our youth.
Yeah. Well, I tell you that, there's more to Calibre mining than just mining, because what you're talking about is so beautifully sophisticated and how it all works within our community. I appreciate you being on.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm always happy to chat.